Hello. Today we're going to be discussing my top 5 tips for beginning with the tarot. Now before we get started, I do want to remind everyone that we put out a new video every week, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can follow along. Now, let's get into my tips. Oh, remembering that time when I first had my first tarot deck. It's so interesting. It's so fun. It's so different from having your cards read to you, which is also really fun. Then when you get to take them home, it's like taking this little secret home and, it's something all to yourself. It's very interesting. I'm really excited for you that you're ready to start this journey. So let's go on to my first tip. My first tip is going to be about choosing your deck. I know that when you first get into it, you're probably thinking, oh, I have to go buy like the Rider-Waite deck or whatever, using, for example, if you're buying that type of deck. You don't have to get the exact original deck. You can get one that's close, built on that deck, that is based on it, but has a little bit different, maybe more modern imagery, so that you feel more of a connection to those cards when you're reading them. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to get the original one. Find one that's based off of it. I have a couple of them that are based off of it. Of course, if you've been following my channel, you see that I have a lot of different decks, so it's really interesting to see the different ways that the authors read into it and express, their view on the system. So it could be a good starting point to do that. Now, my only word of caution would be I would shy away from the decks that are too based off of symbols, just, very simple line type cards. They're beautiful. Some of them are, gilded and everything, but until you have a stronger understanding of the different card meanings, I would shy away from that for the time being. Circle back around to that a little bit later. All right, so step number 2 for my tips is going to be prepping your deck. There are a lot of different ways you can prep your deck. There's a lot of rituals and things online. If you do some quick Google searches, you'll run across them. Now, depending on the circumstance, I have a bunch of different things that I do, but the one thing I always do is to give it a moon bath. Basically, a moonlight bath. You just stick it up in the window, I guess to say, on a full moon night preferably, but get that moonlight on there, let it have a light bath cleansing. And for me, I do that for all my decks. I do them when I'm using them. I feel like they need to be cleaned up a little bit, or if someone was handling my deck, I'll use it to kind of give it a little cleaning. So before I get back into it, it's just one of the things that I do. So try that one out to start, and then move on from there. You'll find some couple of other things that you'd like to do to get your deck ready to go. Another thing that you can do while you're prepping it is look over all the cards in your deck. Take the time to go through each image one by one and think to yourself what the cards mean without even seeing the meanings at first. Don't look at the words yet or the numbers. Just look at the pictures themselves and see what they say to you, which will, of course, lead me into number 3, which is learning the card meanings, but. So you do need to learn the card meanings, of course. You got to know what you're reading about. Spend some time researching it. There's books, there's online resources. A lot of them are free. See what the meanings are about. While you're prepping it, you can also, after you look through the cards, go back and look through it with the meanings so you can make that association in your head. I'd even recommend trying a tarot journal diary, just writing down your pulls that you're doing, writing down the meanings that you're ascribing as you're looking at it, what it means to you. So it's a good way to learn it. And I definitely would also say to start with the upright meanings and then move on to the reversals so that you can get a good grasp of one before you move on to the other. So now let me go back to my butt. I am a firm believer that, every tarot reader brings something a little bit special to their readings. I'm an intuitive reader. I do not believe that the meaning is exactly this. There may be a slight variation for it. So if you're reading the deck and you feel it's, has a slightly different meaning, that's okay. I don't mean wishful thinking. I don't mean you do a pull and it's giving you a warning and you're having, oh no, this could mean. I mean, when you really get that intuitive feeling that, I think this means X, Y, or Z, go with it and see what that meaning says, and do another pull afterward and another pull after that, just for extra clarification. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so let's go on to number 4, some spreads. I know when you see those spreads online, there's a lot of beautiful looking spreads that look super complex, all these cards in here. I would say to start with single or maybe triple card pulls, so maybe like some past, present, future ones, something like that. Something to get you started understanding how the cards tie together, how the reading goes, understanding the progression of the cards as you're pulling them out, and understanding each meaning individually as well. So once you get that down, you can move on to some more complex spreads, but don't jump straight into the super hard spreads. Plenty of times to do like, Celtic crosses and other larger spreads in the future. Stick with something real easy just to start with. Now, if you really are interested in trying something different, you could look in your guidebook, the little white books that come with your cards. Sometimes the authors will include some unique spreads for their deck as well in there. So that's a good way to experiment with some, non-traditional type card spreads. Just a suggestion. Now, let's go on to the fifth and most important tip. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect, right? You definitely want to practice with it on yourself in the beginning because you are unsure what all the meanings are, so it'd be kind of hard to read for someone else. Start with yourself. Do it every day. I myself do pulls for myself all the time, every day. Start with a single pull, maybe in the morning. You can see how your day is going to go. You can do it for clarification. You can do it for any reason at all. You can pull cards. And like I mentioned, stick with like maybe a single or a triple card spread, just something easy that you can do on the fly that's not going to overwhelm you. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It should also be fun. If it's not fun, you're not going to want to keep doing it. So, get into the habit of it, and then it just becomes normal, and you'll be carrying cards around with you too. You're at the store digging around through your bag, and like the cards just flop out because they're in there. They're in all my bags now. This will be used soon. So, those are the tips. I do want to say before I go, I know that some people will tell you things have to be definitely this way. This means this. You have to do this. There are no absolutes. Tarot reading is intensely personal. I don't feel like someone can tell you you have to do this way or that way. You have to do what feels right to you. Now, I've even heard, like you have to be gifted a deck. What happens if no one ever gives you a gift? Gift yourself. Gift the deck any way that you need to do. It's a great example of something. You don't have to just wait around for, someone, the universe to come and put a deck in front of you. Make it happen. And reversals, I know that's another sticky point. If you don't know the uprights yet, stick with the uprights. Once you get that, move on to the reversals. It's not going to invalidate your reading. It doesn't make it wrong. Don't feel like you have to do it this way or that way. You're learning. Have fun. Do what feels right. And I find that usually at the end, you'll end up exactly where you were meant to be. Right? Right. Okay, so that's it for today. I would love to hear what you have to say about this video. Leave me some comments below. If you have any questions, if you need some guidance on what kind of deck to get, I'd be happy to give you some suggestions so that you can look for yourself to find a deck that fits perfectly for you. And that's it. So until next time.